Welcome to Chapter 7, Mindfulness, for the stress management course for exercise science and sports medicine students. See if we can get the slides going. All right, there we go. All right, the nature of reality. Reality is what is or what is happening. Such a strange definition, but that it's one of those things that how do you define reality, right? I mean, it is what it is. You know, like whatever is actually happening is reality. Okay. Unreality is what's not happening or an illusion. And again, um, there's a mix between these two things. And again, some of you feel like, oh no, I got reality. I live in reality. But if you've ever had a miscommunication, a misperception, you've mixed reality with unreality, right? If your intuition has led you wrong, you've mixed reality with unreality, and we've all done that. Okay, we see something that is not there, or we read into something that is not there. I think in current, you know, current times with emails and texts and so on and so forth, people try to read into what somebody's actually saying on top of what they're saying, so to speak. So, I have somebody, they'll, hey, can you read this text? Can you read this email? Do they seem mad? Or, somebody's hoping somebody's got a crush on them or something like that. They'll be like, so do you think they like me? Or, and again, it may just be a simple conversation like, hey, how's it going? Good. How's it going? What are you up to? Hey, what's the weather? And that's all it is. But again, in the way that we are as humans, there's things that are said and there's things that are said, right? And so, the possibility is two people could be conversing, both people could have like a crush on each other, and so they're not really talking about it, but they're both trying to read into what the other one is saying, right? And so there may be a reality there, or it may be an unreality, right? So you may have one person that has a crush, one person that doesn't, and both, the person that has a crush is reading in on the person that doesn't have the crush on. There's a reality, right? So these things do happen, right? And we do mix these things. Okay, so we find reality through our senses and what is happening internally. Okay, and so because we use our senses and our internal like our internal uh, sensory perception, like how we feel with our gut and so on and so forth, um, we mix reality with unreality a lot of times, right? And so again, it's hard for us to be completely objective about something because there's so much subjectivity that's going to come out. Okay, the here and the now, every moment of our lives, we are here and now, right? So much time we think, we spend a lot of our thinking in the future or the past, but the reality is we are here, we are, we're in the here and the now. And so what we want to correct in the past or what we want to prepare for the future has to be dealt with in the here and the now. Okay, so always think about that, a lot of times people dream, oh yeah, in 5 years I want to be doing this. Okay, well, what can you do here and now to get you to there in 5 years? What is mindfulness? Commonly defined as a state of being attentive to and aware of what is taking place in the present. Um, so what is happening in the here and the now? The present moment has no stress, so again, is what's going on with you now? Did stress just occur? Are you in a non-stress situation? Are you, again, are you looking to stress for something in the future? Based on Vipassana, an ancient contemplative tradition, mindlessness occurs when our thoughts are not in the present moment and when we tune out what is happening. Okay. So again, sometimes when you're thinking about the future and not paying attention to what's happening now, again, you know, you could be daydreaming about tomorrow and not realize you're walking across a busy intersection, get hit by a car, right? So I mean, you know, you're not in the here and the now and taking care of what you should be doing in the here and the now, right? Qualities of mindfulness: beginner's mind, thinking like a child. So this involves seeing things as if it's for the first time. Right. So, you know, to be more mindful, sometimes you got to take a step back when you're looking at the things around you. Right. We take for granted, or we just, you know, we get lulled into not paying attention of the things that are going on now. Sometimes, you know, you want to take a step back and almost view and take everything in around you. You know, to me, this would be like a child for the first time, you know, and again, maybe not like a small child, but you take a child that has you know, developed enough brain and sensory perception, you know, that you've been talking about taking them to Disney World, you know, and that's all they think about. That's all they think about. That's all they think about. You know, they've seen pictures, they've seen videos. I mean, they're excited, and that, you know, that they step through and see Disney World for the first time, right? You know, there's just, they see everything, they take everything in, right? Um, Non-judging represents straightforward observations. Now, again, this is almost impossible for most. I'd say it's impossible for most people. I'd say it's almost impossible for most people. I think, you know, scientists even have trouble with this, but I think good scientists can take a step back. If you have a good analytical mind, you'll be much better at this. You know, taking the judgy, you know, as people say now, you're kind of judgy. You know, taking the judgy out of when you look at something, right? Just taking it in as this is what this is, and that's it. Not whether or not you like it, whether or not you agree with it. It is what it is. Okay. So again, a detached observation is simply staying in an observation state of mind without judgment or expectations. Okay. So it's like, you know, if you look at a rock, well, you can look at that rock, you can determine what type of rock it is, what color the rock is, the size of the rock, where the rock is lying. You know, is it more round? Is it more flat? What, you know, those are all observations, right? You're not determining whether or not you like that type of rock, whether you think that color is too dark or too light, the shape is too flat or too round, or if it's too big or too small, right? You're just taking it is, you know, it is what it is. Mindfulness, self-efficacy. How confident are you in your ability to maintain non-judgmental awareness? I would say in today's climate, this is darn near impossible. I think people are, um, you know, we always, you know, everybody always wants to say, oh, this is a non-judgment free zone, you know, Planet Fitness, right? You know, but even Planet Fitness, what happens when a guy or girl comes in that's like ridiculously ripped or jacked, or, you know, and they can crush weights? The people at the front desk are judging them, right? They don't want those folks in there, right? This is a non-judgment free zone, so we don't want, you know, fit people in here, type of thing, right? um, all zones tend to be judgment zones, you know, nowadays. You know, it's hard for people to speak their mind because of fear of being judged. You know, if you don't have the popular opinion on things, you know, especially, you know, you get on any of the social media platforms, man, cancel culture, man, they come after you, right? You know, and again, it's, you know, we should be able to speak our minds judgment free, right? You know, really a societal lesson I wish people would take in is it's okay if somebody has an opinion that is wrong, you know, that maybe it's wrong, you know, like in whatever regards it's wrong. Um, but if you can approach them without just jumping on them and judging them right away, and you can actually hear them out, listen to them, listen to why they think that. I mean, that's the big thing. If you'll get to the why they think that, Why were they taught that? Why they think that? Um, you're going to have much more success in helping them realize their view on something is incorrect, if it is incorrect, than just coming at them with judgment, right? And again, quality of mindfulness and self-efficacy, right? Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of conversations with students and stuff that have misconceptions about fitness or nutrition or things like that. And I could just come out and say, no, you're stupid and you're wrong, right? And again, probably 90% of the folks I'd say that to would not really want to hear what I got to say after that, right? But if I can hear them out and just be like, okay, well, who told you that? How did you learn that? Why do you believe that? What have you seen? What evidence have you seen to confirm that? And when we get down to it, I can say, okay, so and so told you that. I got you. They're an Herbalife, they're an Herbalife dealer or whatever. Okay, so they're trying to make a profit, trying to get you to buy their stuff. I get that. All right, now let's go look at some scientific research and let's read through it and have a discussion about it and see if that matches up with what they're telling you, right? Again, not judging them. I mean, it's not, I get that people are out there trying to swindle people. I'm not going to judge anybody that gets swindled. Um, but we're going to work through something and try to come up with an understanding. And again, if they still want to buy something at the end of the day, if I'm really observant, I'll be like, okay, well, that's your choice, and good for you for making your choice and everything. But again, even for me, that's hard because when they leave, I have a judgmental side that says, man, they really did not learn that they don't need that, and they're spending money they don't need to spend, right? Um, Acceptance of what is happening, holistic and unconditional. Non-attachment is non-identification with the object or of attention. So again, the acceptance of what is happening is, when you take it from, like all approaches, like you accept that it's happening. You accept it in your mind, you accept it in, like you basically accept it in your mind, your heart, your soul, however you like, it's accepted. This is what is happening, right? It's not like you're saying, okay, in my mind, I accept that, but in my heart, I ain't, like I'm hoping for something different, right? Now you accepted it, like, wholeheartedly, holistic, however you want to look at it. Non-attachment would be non-identification with the object of attention, right? So again, when you look at a diet, a lot of people have this attachment with whatever diet they're at. I really think this is so sad in our society that, we identify with the food plan that we eat. I mean, have we really fallen so far that somebody's Twitter handle or their Instagram handle would be Keto Katie or Keto Kenneth? Really, the most important thing in your life is your keto diet, or vegan Vicky or vegan Victor. Really, the most important thing in your life is that you're a vegan. You don't have anything more important in your life. I mean, it really is. We self-identify with some things that, when you look at the picture of it, it's not the most important thing or should not be the most important thing in your life, right? And I'm somebody that deals, basically half my job is nutrition, right? The other half of my job is the science of fitness and things. And I've got well, I guess if you're going to break up the things that I've got to talk about, it's really three categories, because this one really falls into a different one. We've got nutrition. We've got more of our hard, like I'd say, hard sciences. Not that they're more important, but they're the, they're the little bit of the more hard sciences. And then we've got more of the mental sciences, right? So again, stress management, motivation, things like that. all of them have equal parts, right? So don't get me wrong on like the hard, some people say hard and soft. I just say the hard sciences and the mental, and the reason the other ones are hard is a lot of times things in that one can be a lot more, they're a little bit more black and white. You do this, this result happens. The mental sciences are actually, in my opinion, the most important, because if you can work on motivation and behavior change and all that, I mean, like if you can be successful in those, that's what has the effect on the hard sciences and on the nutrition, right? And again, I separate nutrition because, there's what you do and what you eat. Okay, and so I break it into these three categories. But again, we identify, like I'm saying, I mean, I'm somebody that has to work a lot with nutrition, and again, identifying with something like that is a little strange to me, but it is what it is. Non-striving, okay, giving up our need to try to change anything, okay. Again, it's that's hard for us to do. We always want to manipulate our situations. We want to um, be in charge of our life, so to speak. We want to, some people want to be in charge of all the lives around them as well, right? But sometimes you just got to accept the world as what the world is. And I'm not saying like, don't, like, it's just like, all right, well, this world sucks. It is what it is. Not, that's not the thought process. The thought process is that here's the world. I'm going to accept it what it is. Now, again, when you move forward in things, you can look at what you can do to make the world better, right? We're not there yet. Okay. So that's not saying that you just sit back, relax, and just like, if the world's burning, just let it burn. Okay, that's not what that's saying. It's just sometimes you've got to, we get so worked up and we're like, this isn't right. This isn't, and sometimes you got to sit and see, okay, well, what is this actual, what is this actual world before you can move forward, right? And then once you've taken it in and you can take an observational glance, then you can move forward in the right direction and not just be moving forward, okay? Daydreaming, is it good for you? People's minds wander about 47% of the time. Okay. Now, again, I think I would probably fall into the group that probably is much higher than that, that probably drives that statistic up, just being honest. Research shows people don't merely fantasize when they are unhappy. Wandering minds lead to unhappiness. Yes, I am unhappy. I'm sorry. Yeah, my mind wanders a lot. If you want to stay cheerful, you're better. If you want to stay cheerful, you're better off focusing on the present, no matter how unpleasant it is. Right? If you're always taking yourself to happy town, so to speak, in your mind, you always got to come back to reality, right? So if you wander, and again, that's the thing. Most of us don't. Some people wander into dark places, but for the most part, most people, when they're wandering, they're in a situation they don't like. They think about a better situation. They're always thinking about a better situation. The more you think about better, then your current situation gets worse. So it's like this. You're sitting down with a plate of broccoli, right? Let's say that you don't hate broccoli, but it definitely ain't your favorite, right? And you're like, all right, so if you're in the present, you're like, okay, here's a broccoli, I'll eat it later. I think I'm going to go out and get some ice cream. You start thinking about the ice cream, right? And you're picturing the ice cream. You're like, well, we could go get to the store. The store brands are all right. Yeah, we could go to Cold Stone. Cold Stone's pretty good. Man, maybe I want to drive over to Dania Beach and go to Jackson's, which has the best ice cream. You start really thinking about that. Then you come back to your current situation and you look at this broccoli and you've just been thinking about this amazing ice cream. Now you're back at, where the broccoli before you got into the whole ice cream fantasy was, it's broccoli, it's all right. Now you're like, oh, this is broccoli, you know, I just want the ice cream, right? So you kind of see how that works, where the wandering mind can lead to unhappiness, right? Right. A culture of doing. As a function of culture and shared expectations, we move through transitions. So we go from infants, which is the purest form of being. Again, infants just take everything in, right? Little kids, what's that? Why? Why are you doing that? What's that? Why are you doing that? What's that? And again, with the infants, they can't even talk yet. So they're just like, their eyes are just open, just looking at everything, and they just accept like, this is what this is. This is what, they know who mom is, even without knowing that she's mom, right? They just know, like whatever this mass blob thing is, it feeds me, it makes me feel good, it like when I'm sleepy, it holds me, like however their mind work, like again, they probably don't think in words, but they just they think in colors or comforts or whatever else, right? Just take everything in. Okay. They're not daydreaming of other moms, or like, oh, this ceiling I'm always looking at, I don't like this color. They're not there yet, right? Adolescence, a transition to adulthood, from the joyfulness of play to the preference for doing over being, right? Again, you think about when you're a kid, like, like I talk to my kids, and they're always, I want this. I'm like, man, your life is so easy, right? Yeah, they have to do at school and stuff, and things like that, but man, they get a lot of time just for themselves. I get jealous, right? So again, we learn, there's a point in time where we go from just enjoying and playing and things like that to like doing, right? Um, we're always looking for success in our careers or success in our relationships, or instead of like, man, I just stop and play and have fun, right? It's we change. Adulthood, even greater emphasis on doing over being, right? So it gets more and more and more. And then when you get old, you look back and you're like, man, I just want to enjoy life. I'm tired of doing. I want to get back to just living life and enjoying life, right? And so we come full circle. Mindfulness as a way of being present in all of one's activities and interactions, right? So this means put down the cell phone. Okay. And if you're at your kid's birthday, be at your kid's birthday. Don't be scrolling Instagram. When you're home with people and having conversations, man, get off that thing, right? This part of life drives me nuts. To be honest, with the cell phones. And I get that you may get an important text or something from somebody that say, hey, I got to respond back to this, but even then, a lot of times it's like, man, why can't you just get to that stuff later? A lot of texts and things we get you can get to later. But I feel in our society, we become really not being there, in the fact that I'm around people all the time and they're scrolling through their Instagrams and they're doing this. And it's like, I don't even know why I'm out hanging out with you. Right? They're not being mindful. They're in their own other world, right? And again, when we live mindfully, we become more effective and productive. You want a better relationship with someone? Put down the cell phone. You want to be a better worker? Put down the cell phone. You want to be more successful? Put down. Like I keep picking on the cell phone, but please put down the cell phone. Right? It's people think, oh no, I'm more productive. No, not when you're scrolling through Instagram and Facebook. You are not. Right? Why be mindful? As thoughts accumulate, our minds get cluttered. The result is sensory overload. Again, we have so much stuff that comes through that thing. I'm really I'm going to pick on the cell phone a lot in this chapter, so just get used to it. It's just, and again, it's weird now. We kind of crave the clutterness. Like when you sit and it's quiet. I remember a lot of times when I was a kid, man, I could, like I get done watching a movie or something, and sometimes I just sit in the quiet, and it's like, that's kind of nice. Now, again, we didn't have a lot of sensory overload stuff when I was little. Now that I'm adult, I even have trouble. I'm a person that likes quiet. I like having like times where it's just completely quiet. But I've gotten to a point I can't even do that. I even got to a point in college where, like, when I was studying, like, I either had to have the radio or the TV on. Again, I liked having the TV on, not to watch it, but the problem is sometimes with music in my head, my brain really clicks with music, so then it starts going either through the lyrics and thinking about what the person's saying, or like it starts trying to pick up the rhythms or the beats, or like, I don't know, it's just something weird. So sometimes music's a little bit hard for me. I like putting on TV, and especially finding like some old shows that I've seen like a million times. um, it's weird just having that noise. I'm actually able to, um, it's it's weird. I can be more mindful with the background noise than if it's silent. And I think it's part of the fact that over time my brain has gotten used to a sensory overload capacity. So now it has to, if it has complete quiet, it has trouble. Um, where if it has a little bit of background noise, there's some other sensory stuff, but it's like kind of, you know, somehow that now lets me focus, which is just weird, because before I used to have quiet to focus, or I used to need quiet to focus. Okay. Mindfulness-based stress reduction may be effective for general stress reduction with non-clinical populations. Again, when we're talking about stress and we're talking about stress management, and we talk about some of these psychological things, always, or even like when we're talking about fitness and nutrition, and we talk about the effects that can have positively on mind, and especially when we talk about things like reduction in depression. Okay. I want to be very clear with you guys that when you're working with folks, if somebody actually, deals with clinical depression, so they've been clinically diagnosed, or something along those lines. Okay. um, when you're working with somebody, you've got to understand, you can't tell them like, oh yeah, this is going to help your, like, it may aid in it, and it's okay to like let them understand those benefits, that, a lot of times when you exercise, it does help with that, but make it clear that whatever they're doing with their doctor needs to continue, going to their therapy, taking medications, or whatever else. Okay. This is the things that you're doing. Like, so if you're helping them be more mindful, again, great, but it is not a substitute for them seeing a professional in that area. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that that's something you would do, but I have heard bad instances of, fitness professionals, nutritional professionals, or like these folks that think they're life coaches or whatever else, that overstep their bounds. Okay. No. Right. We don't override any doctors, right? So even if, hey, exercise lowers your blood pressure, and they're on a blood pressure med, that's great that exercise lowers their blood pressure, but their doctor determines if they get off the med, not you. Okay. So just to be clear, same thing here with somebody that sees a mental health professional. They work that out with them, not with you. Okay. So again, general stress reduction does happen, or can happen, with mindful-based stress reduction, and managing stress and mood disorders in patients with cancer. Again, um, you know, this can be helpful, and again, that's all it is. It can be helpful. All right, it's not something as a substitute. Okay. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, participatory wellness programs based in mindful meditation, learn how to work with aspects of awareness. And again, meditation, a lot of times people have this thought process of meditation, based on, they've learned some type of meditation, like Eastern philosophy type meditations, right? And again, even in the Eastern philosophy, there's different types of meditation. Okay. But the most general one is, sitting in a position, You see the folks that sit in kind of the Indian style position with their hands high, clear your mind, your breathe. And again, that's probably what most people have been introduced to, but there's all kinds of different ones. Okay. And again, not all of them are completely silent and quiet either, right? You know, some people um, clear their minds while they're actually doing exercise activity, right? So somebody can get on a bike and just get pedaling and meditate. Some people can just, you know, like go for a swim and meditate. Some people can run and meditate. You know, some people actually need music to meditate. You know, there's it's, you know, again, you know, clear, you know, like throw out what you know about that, you know, because a lot of times when we look at it, we're like, okay, this is what you do, you know. Some folks pray, you know, that's their way of meditating. So there's a lot of different forms of meditation that help, you know, with the mindfulness base and help with mindfulness based stress reduction. Okay. And so when you see meditation, I know most people think, oh, it's this one thing, and it's not, you know, that you're doing the breathing technique, doing this. Um, no, there's all kinds of different forms of meditation. Okay. Learn how to work with aspects of awareness. Decreases wide range of physical, psychological symptoms and increases clients' well-being. Right. So getting them out of the, you know, getting them out of the la la land and back into the real world, and focusing on the real world, and where they are and what they're doing and those type of things. You know, and getting them back to, okay, you're in the here and the now. What do we do? Right. Um, Improves physical, emotional, social, and mental health. Does mindfulness decrease stress? 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction courses on stress and empathy for nursing students, intended to provide students with tools to cope with personal and professional stress and foster empathy. Participation significantly reduced anxiety, and being mindful may reduce anxiety and decrease tendencies to take on others' negative emotions. So yeah, it does it work? It's not so much does it, more than yes, it can work. If somebody can really get into it and practice it and stay with it, right? Um, and again, that's the thing is, it does work. It's just, you know, and again, however you do it, you've got to find what works for that person. Remember, we try to look at things as, okay, here's something that we can implement to everybody, but by the time it gets to that person, you know, for it to work for them, it's got to be tailored to them, you know. So for instance, you can take a plain t-shirt, right, and you can give somebody a white t-shirt and they're like, okay, I like a white t-shirt. Somebody else is like, I don't really like the white t-shirt, right? You know, my favorite color is blue, or my favorite color is black, or my favorite color is orange, or whatever it is, right? So you can change the colors. Okay. Another person's like, this shirt's too big, right? You know, or it's too small, so then you got to enlarge the size, or small, you know, make the size smaller. You know, this, you know, I like if a shirt contours this way, or I don't like the way this collar, you know. So by the time you give, you know, we started with a t-shirt, by the time we give a t-shirt out to 20, 30 different people, there may be 20, 30 different shirts. You know, they all look different, even though it's made out of the exact same material. You know, it's a, you know, poly cotton blend or cotton or whatever, you know, whatever this t-shirt is made of. And again, some people have the v-neck collar, some people have the round neck, you know, or the normal neck collar. Some people want their shirts a little tighter, some like them a little looser, some want them to contour to the way they're built, some folks don't, some folks want them just like hanging off, some folks want, you know, one color, some folks want multiple colors on it, so on and so forth, right? So again, you've got to think about, when you're doing these things, that's what it's going to end up looking like when you work one-on-one with somebody. Okay. You've got to contour it to what works for them. Right. A lot of times in our profession, people miss that point, and we're always asking people to contour themselves to what we're trying to do. And that's why folks never stick with it. You're like, man, I taught you how to do that. Why don't you do that? because you're asking them to contour themselves and who they are to the way that you do something, rather than taking something that works for you or something you've been taught that could help folks and making little adjustments here and there so it works for them, right? Um, Again, experiencing mindfulness, testing the principle. Sit at your desk or table with a pen, piece of paper. Place your non-dominant hand where you can easily see it and write down everything you notice about your hand using all your senses. Continue doing this for several minutes. When you think you have observed everything, stop and observe again with all your senses and continue writing. All right, long story short with this is there's always, when you first look at something, there's certain things because of who you are, you pick them up and see them, right? So, if I was going to look at my non-dominant hand, which is my right hand, the first thing I'll notice is my middle finger is the longest out of my fingers. My knuckles are really, really wrinkly. I have really short nails because I have a bad tendency to bite them. And right now my hand looks really tan because I've been outside a lot, right? And so then I could sit down, take another look, and I'll notice, I'll be like, hey, I got a lot of veins. I can see a lot of veins on my fingers. I can see some of the scars I have on my hand from different things I've done over the years. Now that my hand's been sitting here a while, I can see where I put pressure because certain parts of the hand are turning more, are turning like more of a whitish color, things like, and I could come back and look at it again and probably pick up some other things, right? And so as you do that and you observe and reobserve and observe and reobserve, there's always little things that you're going to pick up. Okay. And you're becoming more mindful of what is actually there, not overlooking things. Okay. Um, so when we focus our attention on what's happening, when we keep our awareness on here and now, we take part in experience without stress, right? And while you're doing that, again, the other thing is too, is whatever was on your mind before, like got in a fight with your boyfriend, girlfriend, one of your parents is deathly ill, or whatever else, you are able to take your mind off of all these other things in your life and just be in the here and now presence of what's going on with my hand, right? And again, you may find, like, if you did that for several minutes, at least for several minutes, all the worries of this world were not in your head because you were focused, right? Sometimes, that's why sometimes when people are going through things, they like to have something that they can focus on, right? You may be one of those people that's good mechanically, right? So I know folks that one of the things they like to do is they always like to have like an older car or something in their garage, and what they do for stress reduction when they get home, it's funny, some people look and they're like, man, I'd be stressed out trying to work on a car. They actually really enjoy it. They start taking things apart that are broken on it, putting new pieces on and rebuilding the car. And at the end of the time, they've got this beautiful car. They can either go drive it around or whatever, or they can sell it and start over again, right? Again, why does that work? Because they're focused on the car, whether unbolting something, whether, taking a part out and cleaning it or repairing it or replacing it. They're focused on that part. They're focused on building the car. They're not worried about it. Now again, if this is a car they got to drive to work tomorrow, that could be a different story. But if it's something like that, where it's like you've got however much time you want to work on it, get it fixed, and do that, it's not a worry. It's just something that they can sit and focus on. Um, Inner mindfulness meditation focuses the mind internally rather than externally through the five senses, encourages non-judgmental observations or thoughts and images for heightened awareness. Um, Again, you're not thinking of what's going on outside, but what's going on inside, right? And you just, again, try not to be subjective about it, but just give a good hard look objectively of what is going on, right? Um, Time tip: effective studying, focusing on being present in the moment makes study time more effective. Again, some people get distracted easy, and something that they could have studied for like 30 minutes and had it memorized or learned enough that they do well on their test takes them several hours or even longer because their mind is all over the place. Right? Now, again, sometimes you have so much on your mind that the studying isn't as important or feels important, even though it is important, right? And so, sometimes it may be even important to take something that's easy for you to focus on. I've been told to do that before too. Like, so for me, I can really dive into focusing on like music. So, if I'm playing guitar or something like that. So one of the things I used to do before I studied just to get my mind right is I'd sit there and play through like a few songs and just sit there or try to learn a song or, whatever else and sit there and do that. And as soon as I realized like everything else I'm not thinking about, I'm just sitting there playing, working on that, I would put the guitar down, then go to studying and try to keep that same focus. All right, now I'm done with the guitar. I'm not going to think about the songs. I'm going to think about this. So again, there's different ways, to do those things. Some people can't jump from real world into just the studying. I was one of those folks. And so that was something that worked for me, right? Again, tailor it to the person. All right, inner mindfulness meditation with eyes closed. Take a moment to tune into your thoughts. Allow yourself to non-judgmentally watch your thoughts as they seem to come and go. Uh, Easy to say, very hard for people to do. As you keep your eyes closed, separate your awareness from the many thoughts that pop in your head and leave your mind, and continue to watch your thoughts passively as if you were pulling up a chair and sitting next to your thoughts, right? So this is sort of like you're standing on the side of the street and your thoughts are cars passing by, right? You're just watching it, okay? And again, it's hard not to judge. I don't know that I can ever fully 100% do that, but maybe some people can. Practice being more mindful. Choose an activity that you do in a less than mindful way and focus on involving yourself completely in the experience. Pay attention to things that are happening around you rather than thinking about so many things. Try simply observing all that is showing up for you in your experience, right? So again, just, it's hard to do. So, maybe if, like you could take, for example, you're at work and you have a big cafeteria area, you eat lunch, right? So let's say that your mindful activity is to go eat your lunch. And you're like, oh, that sounds awesome, right? Um, so you focus on your lunch, focus on the experience. What is the food you're eating? What is each thing? Like when you taste it, is it sweet? Is it this? Is it that? Right? Not, again, try not to judge it like, oh, this is good. No, this is all right. It's just, this is what this is. As you're doing that, observe everything. What color is the table you're sitting at? The chair, is it short? Is it tall? Is it soft? Is it hard? Where do most people sit? Where's the windows? Is it light or is it dark in there? Those type of things, like just looking at it, not, like, oh, it's too bright, it's too dark. Too many people sit over there, nobody sits over, don't look at it that way. It's just what is happening, right? Accept and enjoy. Consciously speak to yourself, saying something like, in this moment, I allow myself to be here now. I cannot be anywhere else right now, nor can I be in my past or future. So I choose to relax, enjoy what is happening here and now, right? So, this is one of those things, like, again, I brought something up about Legoland the other day. And I'm not picking on Legoland. I like Legoland, but, Legoland is not Disney World. All right, let's just be clear with that. It's not Universal Studios. Okay. So you're at Legoland, and somebody took you to Legoland. They gave you free tickets, and they took you, right? And let's say it's like your boyfriend, girlfriend, or something. So, and let's say like you're really wanting to spend time with them, but there's this like little itch of being disappointed. You're like, man, why didn't they take me to Disney? Or why didn't they take me to Universal? Why am I at Legoland? Right. Um, you know, And the thing is you go, you're not enjoying your time with them. You're not, and again, it's like there's cool rides and you could be having, but you're just not having that much fun. And then at the end of the day, it really wasn't all that great of a day. Or you let go of the fact that you're not at Disney, you're not at Universal, you're at Legoland. And being there is better than being at work that day. You're with this person that you want to be with, and let's say it's your work, your coworkers or folks that you don't necessarily enjoy being with. So, there's two positives. You're at a fun place and you're with the person you like. So in that moment, be there, you're just be there and enjoys what's happening. Hey, we're about to go ride this roller coaster and it's fun. And I'm riding, I'm hanging out with this person I enjoy being around, right? Take mindful breaks in which you do nothing but engage yourself in a certain place and time. So again, you just allow yourself sometimes for mindfulness breaks. It's important to disengage sometimes, right? Rearrange. If you find yourself in a setting that is mundane or always the same, take time to rearrange things, right? So if your office bores you or your cubicle bores you or something like that, move things around. Like if you've got pictures or something on the left wall, move them to the right. So, rearrange your desk, whatever it is. It creates a new environment. Okay. If you're always doing the same things, pick up something new. Again, it says pick up a new sport or hobby. Learn new skills. Change your normal routine slightly. If you always shampoo first and then soap up, maybe even doing that, switch it, soap up first, shampoo, see how that works for you. If you brush your teeth before you get dressed, maybe get dressed and brush your teeth. I just change it up. If you always drive one way to work, maybe drive slightly different way. It changes up your normal routines. It makes it so that you're not just on cruise control or autopilot going through the mundane, right? Observe when you are involved in or notice others engaging in situations with heightened emotions. Step back and simply become an observer rather than becoming emotionally involved in the incident. I really think this would be very important, like when we're looking at folks, especially like right now where you see some of these protests. And again, I'm not saying I agree with protesting. I think going and trying to make change for social justice, I think is very important. But I think one of the things that we run into problems is, you got some folks, that are very, very angry and they're yelling at other people. And you got these other folks that get very, very angry and they're yelling back. And the thing is you can either get emotionally involved and jump in, but it's the same thing when you see in mass gatherings like that, or again, you see it between two people. Um, when you attack another person, I'm not saying physically, but like even verbally, the other person's first reaction is not to, oh, let me hear you out. Their first reaction is, because they're being attacked, is to defend, right? So they're either going to defend their point, or they're going to throw up walls where they don't hear what that person's saying. They're not seeking understandment, to understand that person at that time, right? So again, if you find yourself in a situation like that, and you actually want to be able to be useful and helpful, take a step back, observe what's going on. Like, hey, there's no way this person's going to hear me, or there's no way that this person's going to hear this other person because they're yelling, and then you step in and say, hey, hold on, man, I get that you're upset, I get that you're mad, but I'm like, I see it the way you see it, but this person's not going to listen to us if we're going to talk like this. Hey, can we all take a step back and be respectful to each other? Tell them why you're, tell this person why you're upset. Tell this person why you think this needs to change. Tell this person, in a calm manner, explain to them what has happened to you, right? And again, when they explain it, this other person whose defenses are up, if they can explain it nicely, rationally, and calmly, and they're like, man, I did not realize things like that were going on. I did not realize that something like that has happened to you. Okay, I do see that there needs to be some change. Now, understand from my perspective, maybe, like I've never done anything like that. And nobody that I'm around has ever done anything like that. So I didn't realize that. But, now that you explain that, and that this has happened to you and this other person now has come up and said, yeah, that's happened to me too. You've now opened up dialogue where now, again, I think this is where, this would be an important lesson for us to learn, when, as these protests go on, and especially speaking with, the different police departments and the government and everything else, is when you have calm conversations, but really speak what things have happened, how they've affected people, and even saying, like, explain like how horrific it was. But when you do that in a manner that is not like yelling and blaming somebody else, or assuming that person's been part of that, but explaining to them, look, this is what's happening, please, it needs to change. They are now set in a position of listening. And again, they may be able to accept what you're saying and then be able to say, you know what, I always saw it this way, but I was wrong. Right. And I think that's something, it's an important lesson. I think that's the problem that we have today. Most people are not very good at being mindful, and again, this is why we always have, like, why, again, our government has trouble getting anything done, because we've got two political parties that don't like to be mindful, right? Planning for the future. Living mindfully does not mean that you ignore planning for the future or setting goals for what you want to accomplish. Um, so again, um, instead, think of it as visionary process that constructively focuses on the future and the present moment. So again, that's the thing, is like, don't think about, man, I want to be a millionaire so freaking bad. Or what's that song? I want to be a billionaire so freaking bad. And you're just like, oh, what would I do with all this money? I'd have this house with this pool and this yacht or whatever else, right? All right. The question is, how do you get there? So people like to focus on, oh man, I want this. I wish my life was like that. You know, um, I like to, I've heard the term, you can wish in one hand and poop in the other, see which one fills up first, right? Um, Again, if you want those things, that you got the wish list and you want that to be not a wish list, but a actual comes to fruition list, you've got to be able to to look forward and look in the present, look forward and look in the present, look forward and look in the present, because what you're doing in the present will lead to the look forward. Okay. So again, you look at, like, been watching all this stuff on Kobe Bryant lately, and you look at, here's this kid, since he was a kid, man, he wanted to play in the NBA, right? But he was always putting in the hard work. It's not like he was just like, oh, I hope I make it to the NBA, and he never he was always, again, he had future goals, but the man was a worker, right? He was putting in his time in the gym. He was, he just getting up early, staying late, doing all the work, so he was focused on his today while he thought about his tomorrow. Okay. Worrying about a future event and directing our attention to the potential painful outcomes of that event is also not productive, right? So again, you can't worry about something, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, right? So if it's something you can, like, all right, so you look at something like this, you've got to have a tough conversation with somebody, right? um, you know let's say you're a doctor and you've got to tell a patient that they've got, you know, stage 4 terminal cancer or something like that. That's a tough talk to have, right? And say you're just one of those folks that just really doesn't like to have those talks, and you can sit and worry about, like, man, are they going to break down and cry? Are they going to yell at me? Are they going to, you worry, but it doesn't change the fact that yes, that may happen. Yes, they may break down and cry. Yes, they may yell at you. You know, you can't change their reaction, right? And so you've worried about something that maybe it does come true. Maybe you worry about something and then they're like, you know what, you know, I thought this was what it was. You know, I've made peace with it. You know, I've, you know, actually you telling me just gives me the freedom. I'm gonna, you know, I've been wanting to quit my job. I'm gonna spend more time with my family and enjoy that. And you know, thank you for letting me know now, because I've just really, you know, been thinking that, you know, if this wasn't, you know, if you didn't think it was near as bad, or you weren't sure, you know, what if I went back to work and spent all my time there and then I missed out on time with my kids? And you know, I mean, that could happen. Everything you worried about could happen, right? But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And again, worry is not production, right? Worry is what we do when we're in a situation that we cannot control, and the situation is going to come no matter what. So what do you do during that time? Do other productive things. You know, keep your mind on the here and now. Okay. So, you know, you got to deal with the here and now. And when that event comes, you switch your focus from the things you're doing here and now until when that becomes the here and now, and then you focus there and be there for them, right? Because again, if you're if you're an oncology doctor, you may have that tough call, but you want to be focused on that patient when you're talking to them, not worrying about the patient you have coming in after that, right? Because again, you want to be there now for them, and try to make that experience, you know, you know, as good as it can for them, right? And again, it may be an awful experience for them, but you know, if you can sit there and be really attentive and kind-hearted to them at that moment, you know, you don't want them leaving your office thinking like, man, he or she really just didn't even care and they just dropped a bomb on me, right? Because you're now focused about the next person coming in and you weren't all there. So putting it all together, 2 stages of mindfulness: self-regulating one's attention on immediate experiences and adopting certain orientation towards one's experiences in the present moment, an orientation characterized by curiosity, openness, and acceptance. So mindfulness is essential to management of stress. Ability to fully experience and appreciate the moment is elusive for many. I'm definitely one of those folks. I have trouble with that. Um, be to be at peace with yourself, you have to learn to replace thoughts that produce unhealthy emotions such as guilt, worry, fear, and anger with mental focus on the present. Okay. Again, we don't do the labs in here because I'm much better at doing your labs, right? Okay. So we'll stop screen share. If it'll let. All right. So that is the chapter on mindfulness. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, please email me, text me, whatever you need to do, right on Blackboard, and I will get to those. All right. See you for chapter 8.